So we're going to kick this off. We were laughing. We're getting to know each other, even though we talked on our Zoom. But it's a small world, you know. You meet somebody, and she works in the same business, and she's right next door to us, and a lot of similarities. So this is the great thing about these kinds of events. You meet people, and you find out you have a lot of things in common. So anyway, well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. My name is Margie Piliere. I'm really honored to be here, to be the moderator for this incredible group of women. They talk the talk and they walk the walk when it comes to women mentorship programs. I have to say that our call when we set this panel up was so interesting. So I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy it and get a lot out of it. And for me, I'm a director of consulting services for CGI. CGI is a global IT and business consulting services company, and we're in over 40 countries. We have over 90,000 members, so we're a pretty big company. But when we put together our mentorship program, we took a little bit of a different approach than some of the other members of the panel. So it's going to be interesting to talk about that. But first, I want to thank, I don't know if anybody's here from NJBIA, but I really want to give them a call out for this great conference and for everything they do. And they help businesses connect with other businesses. They identify issues. You get to talk about them and resolve them and be aware of them. So they're an awesome organization. But also, I really want to call them out because they're the reason that we started our Women Mentorship Program. So I'm going to call out my boss, SVP of CGI, Mike Reagan, over there. Hello, Mike. Mike went to the business forum last year, and he came back from it, and he was so excited and impressed, and he said, you know what, we're going to start our own Women Business Mentorship Program here at CGI. And, we kind of figured our way around it, and we put together a group, and here we are a year later. And we have a mentorship program. We have an amazing group of mentors and mentees, and a lot of them are here right now. So I'm going to ask you guys to stand up and make yourself known. Thanks to them. These things take time, and you have to participate, and you have to be part of it. So we really appreciate what they do. So, we know how important it is to actually grow your future leaders. And for women, it's especially hard because we have so many more challenges to get into those executive positions. So you really have to think about how are you going to help them and how are you going to let them benefit from the more experienced leaders that you have in your organization so that they grow into the future leaders, because believe me, you're not going to be there forever. And you have to pass this on, and you have to pay it back, and you have to get new people into your organization. In relation to that, I know we've made a lot of really good strides over the years. We really have. 31.5% of CEOs are women, and we reached a new milestone this year. Over 10% of Fortune 500 companies are run by women now. Now, you'd say, 10%. But that's pretty good, actually, considering what it was before. And not that we're there, because we should be 50% at least. I think there are a lot of other hurdles that we have to overcome. So, we really need to have these mentorship programs to cultivate the future leaders and change those numbers and get them up. So, there are a lot of different mentorship programs out there. You're going to hear from the panelists about their programs. Some of them are formal, some of them are not so formal and a little less structured, but they're all very important. And whether you're a small business or you're a global IT company, you should be thinking about a women's mentorship program for your organization. It's very important. And, when you think about how you're going to go about putting this together, how you're going to put together this mentorship program, everybody takes a different approach. CGI, we wanted to go less formal, which, believe it or not, you think we're a global company, we'd want to go, we'd want to do something more structured, but we really wanted it to be less formal. It's really hard in the technology industry where 80% of the leadership positions are held by men. So, first we had the challenge, where do we find the employees? Where do we find these women? They're graduating out of STEM programs, out of colleges everywhere. And, initially there weren't a lot of them, but now we're seeing more and more women getting into the field of STEM, coming into technology, and then taking leadership roles in technology. So we're trying to change that paradigm. And I think, you really have to, as you set up this program, yes, we're going to be a little more informal, a little more collaborative, and kind of grow it organically as we hire these women into the leadership roles. But, as you grow it and as it expands, you do have to make it a little more structured. And I think the panelists will agree with that, and they're going to talk about that. But you have to start somewhere. So with that being said, we're going to start our panel and make some introductions. I'm going to let each panelist talk a little bit about themselves, who they are, their role, and a brief statement about your mentorship program. So I'm going to start with you, Sharon.
Hi, my name is Sharon Chae Haver. I'm a director of consulting, Slalom Consulting Company, which is a strategy, business, and transformation consultancy with presence globally with 13,000 employees. My experience at mentorship began with myself as a mentee. I had fantastic mentors all the way ranging from middle school when I was a new immigrant coming from South Korea to the United States, all the way to present where I have sponsors and mentors and coaches who I think of as my personal board of advisors. I'll speak a little bit more about that. But I really want to talk about the different formats when we talk about, formal change management frameworks. We talk about the bottoms-up approach and grassroots approach. We also talk about the importance of a top-down structured approach. I've experienced in my career all variations thereof, and the short answer is you need it all. You need the top-down, the bottoms-up, and peer-to-peer mentoring as well in order for you to really build a career that you can be proud of at the end of the day, and then to pay it forward to your next generation. So really appreciate you spending this time right before the cocktail hour, the good stuff, and looking forward to a really vibrant dialogue with my esteemed colleagues.
Great. Alyssa?
Hello? There's so much pressure put on us because they keep talking about us being right in between cocktail hours. So my name is Alyssa Wilds. I am a director of corporate and community relations for Covanta. We are a sustainable materials management company located here in Morristown, New Jersey, but also that's our corporate office, but all across the country and in Canada. My whole career was nestled in nonprofit and education prior to coming to Covanta. So I'm happy to spend my second Covantiversary with you guys today, as today is number 2 for me. Before leaving education in the nonprofit world, I was doing all of the great things, activism, advocacy, as well as my title was public and community relations. But you find yourself in those spaces doing all of the things. And my experience with mentorship really began with becoming the person that I needed and never had. Just never having a mentor, never being accepted into any mentor programs for a plethora of reasons. I will say that I could see that in some women's eyes that it was just head down trying to keep their position because we were just trying to hold tight to where we were and not wanting anybody to kind of bump me out of a space that I worked so hard to get to. And then there was a little bit of a woman could see my power before I could see it. And they didn't want me to rise up and take their position. So I was kind of subdued in spaces where I knew I could grow, but wasn't given the opportunity to grow. So coming into Covanta, it was really, really good in having so many people standing there when you, on your first day with their arms open, like, hey, Alyssa's it. Like, come on over here, Alyssa, just that welcoming kind of space. And from that, Covanta didn't have a formal mentorship program, but it is steadily growing just because we see the need to help elevate women to those C-suite positions and making sure that we get the mentorship as well as the, what is the other word I'm looking for? Somebody help. Sponsorship. There you go. Not only the mentorship, but allow that after the work is done, grow into the sponsorship that people need, because you need not just all of the work and the help that people will give, but you also need somebody to introduce you to the table. So we are formally growing our mentorship program now, and it's steadily growing as we work at it because we didn't formally have one prior to the time that I came into Covanta. So,
great. Cyndie?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Cyndie Williams, Executive Director of the Carpenter Contractor Trust, which is the labor management trust for the Carpenters Union. And what we do is we align the contractor, the carpenter member who's unionized, upwards of 43,000 people in a 6-state region, thousands of contractors, and training as well. And we try to take those entities and create that opportunity for them to communicate effectively by way of hosting events, connection. We take the advocacy work and we market it out there in the community, and we talk to labor and industry and just folks in the community, elected officials, to try to get the word out there about skilled trades. And so we are there to advocate on behalf of the membership. And oftentimes that leads me in a mentorship position, but really, I just want to start off this conversation by saying I was a person 25 years ago that found my way onto a job site as one of the only women in the room, and probably one of only a few of 1,000 men, right? So it came at a time where nobody looked like me. And so really it was head down, charge forward, and try to make my way. And now I found myself in a leadership position where I have folks counting on me to be the person in the room that they could look up to. And I appreciate all of that opportunity because I know what it's like to be on the job site, and I know what it's like to be in the C-suite room now. And in between both, I believe the top-down and bottom-up approach are necessary in order to create an environment that creates a culture of mentorship that we can all sustain and believe in. And for me, I have so much to say, but I'll keep it short in the way that we need to engage our members to make sure that they know that they're valued. And we also need to teach our leadership compassion and give them the energy to move forward to make sure that those opportunities are there for people to come. And that's local build, that's local hire, that's making sure that everyone in the room is diverse, everyone on the construction site is diverse. And, I come from a bit of a different angle. It's not business, it's construction, but certainly there's lots of room to talk about how we support our women in the room. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, really, yes, it's different, but same challenges, same issues, same feelings that you've all had as you've grown into your leadership positions. So we're going to jump into a little Q&A, and we'll start with Cyndie. Since you were the last one to speak. So experts talk about cultivating a culture of sponsorship, and actually it's been mentioned a couple times in the introductions, where senior employees are helping junior employees advance in their careers. So yeah, it sounds like a mentorship, but we talk about a culture. So Cyndie, can you explain the difference between mentorship and sponsorship culture, and let us know, what's the difference?
Sure. So mentorship, I think sponsorship is a part of the leadership taking action in the way that they're looking around the room and trying to identify the folks that need to come into these positions eventually, right? Especially now, people are retiring in droves, and everybody's taking a deep look at who is on the bench waiting to come in, and I think leadership understands that in order to stay relevant, they need to be diverse. They need to have all different faces in the room, and that's construction alike. And I think our leadership with the Carpenters Union has really realized that over the last 15 years, I'd say. And about 15 years ago, it was a coffee conversation with somebody important that said, this needs to happen because we're losing our women. Right? We are bringing people in and they're not staying, and how do we keep them? And so it developed a small level coffee conversation, and then it turned into a wave and a movement of making sure the leadership understood that it was just as important for them to take charge and trying to create these environments that are inclusive, as well as the members, the women in the room, to feel supported. So that grassroots effort of coffee conversation, supporting our mentees, if you will, our women in the room. And sometimes that can be as organic as just having someone on the job site that looks like them, right? And be able to make a connection. But there are so many ways. I think it comes down to sponsorship is trying to cultivate who in the room can you bring up with you. And mentorship is really trying to create that environment where someone feels like they belong so that they want to stay.
Alyssa, do you have anything to add to that?
I do. When I think about mentorship and sponsorship, though, and maybe I'm jumping ahead because there's so many things going on in my head right now. I'm like all over the place. But I'm thinking about how mentorship is a process. And a lot of times I've encountered, because I want to bring everybody along, right? Because I didn't have anybody that wanted to bring me along. So I just want to be there, especially in my position as corporate relations. I pretty much work out of a suitcase. I'm always in an airport because I'm responsible for community outreach across our whole fleet across the country. So I'll meet people and I'm so excited about them and their energy and things. And you'll find some people who really want to be mentored, and you will find other people who want to skip the line and go straight to sponsorship. You know, they don't want the processes. They want the money, they want the title, they want all of the things. And trying to make sure that you pull someone who is willing to do the work of mentorship, because it's not somebody you just want to drag along. You know, you don't want to just offer something to someone who doesn't want to do the work, because mentorship really is work. You have to be ready to do the things. It's a give and a take. And one example I will give with my mentor, because I'm still being mentored, her name is Margie Piliere, and she's a pillar in my community where I grew up. And she gave me this budget, and I highly recommend this for everybody. She made me make a budget, and we meet every month, once a month for dinner. And she made me make a budget, a business budget. She wanted to know how much was I willing to spend to become the woman that I wanted to be. And she wanted to know, does that mean flights to conferences, paying for your own conferences if your company won't pay for it? How much are you willing? Do you have the clothes to be in that room? Do you have the certification to be in that room? What are you willing to get yourself into that room? What work are you willing to do? Is there more education that you need? Are you comfortable with your appearance? You know, do you think you need to lose weight? Do you need to go to the gym? And these are all real questions. It wasn't even like she was picking me apart or anything. She wanted to know. And she told me, don't come back here without that budget. And I was like, ooh, this budget is getting really expensive. You know, like, wait a minute, because when you pay for the conference, you still have to get to California. You have to pay to stay at a hotel in California and not going all the way to California. And nothing against a Red Roof Inn, but you want to be comfortable when you get there. You need to pay for your meals and all of those different things. So recognizing how much mentorship costs and how much work it costs to do that. Just making sure that you're pulling people and inviting people into your mentorship program that really wants to do the work and not just want to skip processes. And another thing I will say too is that we find ourselves in a lot of closed, safe spaces. I find myself speaking to women who are, I'm a Gen X, and boomers who are kind of threatened by millennials and Zs. And I recognize that they come with a whole other energy that I don't have. I'm a woman of a particular age, so if you are spinning around and you have all of that energy, I need you on my team to do some things, because I have all of the ideas and I'll do all of the work, but I need you to package it so very well. So just because it took me a different angle and a whole lot of time to get to where I am, I'm not willing to stifle anybody because I want their process to be my process. I recognize your talent. I see who you are. I see how much work you're putting into this. I see that you're nonstop. You won't stop, can't stop. I see you on social media all the time. I need you on my team. And recognizing the talent and how different we are from generation to generation, but knowing for sure if we put all of our talent together, how great we could be. So that's just my take on mentorship versus sponsorship. But some people can be fast-tracked to sponsorship because they've done all of the work. They've done all of the work on their time. And just because I'm just meeting you now doesn't mean I need to take you back through a process for you to prove to me. You've proven to the world I see your work. I can find it all over the internet. I can find it on YouTube. I can find you all over Instagram. And now I want to have you on my team, and I present you. And I'm willing to put my name on you and put you at the table.
Sharon, anything to add to that? Or, I mean, I think time and money, you have to spend time and money on this.
And it's really, I think of it as a spectrum. So it's not an either or proposition between mentorship and sponsorship. It's a spectrum where I actually would add one more element to this, which is coaching. So take an example of, I have a new consultant. She has never worked on an RFP. So I'm helping him or her, coaching him or her to write the proposal that's going to be compelling to the client. That's coaching. Then I get to know this person, and then she says, I want to be mentored by you. I'm going to share my aspirations and goals on who I want to become. And I love the idea of the business budget. I would like to co-opt, I would like to use it, respectfully. I think it's a great idea. But then I think once you invest that, it's a mutual investment of energy, time, and money. Then you can grow into the sponsorship. So I'll give you an example. When I was at Deloitte, I spent about 8 years at Deloitte. I had a amazing mentor who then became my sponsor. Her name is Tracy Edwards. I think we all have these names that we carry in our heads and close to our hearts. And Tracy Edwards became a sponsor. A difference between a mentor and sponsor in my mind is that they expend their relationship capital to open doors for you so that you can walk through that opportunity that you earned. So they're the door openers. They're the ones who are going to be pounding the table on your behalf at performance management reviews and other critical meetings, bringing you in at the table so that you can speak and show your worth. So Tracy Edwards got me opportunities beyond the wildest dreams I've had as a consultant. I was able to go to Davos at the World Economic Forum and present, to live in Geneva, Switzerland for 6 months. Those are the opportunities that without the right mentor and sponsor, I wouldn't have access to.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. So, so as part of that, as you're, working with women, and you have your mentee or your sponsor or sponsoree or whatever, I think women suffer from, of course, there was a panel on this on confidence, but also, they don't like to make waves, and they don't want to seem like they're complaining about anything. So how do you actually create a space for them to feel safe in an environment that it's encouraged for you to talk about those challenges and issues, and that it's not complaining? So how do you do that in an organization, especially since some of your organizations, like Cyndie, your organization is completely male dominated? So how do you do that? So I'll ask Cyndie to respond to that.
Sure, thank you. So that's a great question, and yeah, it is a difficult situation when some of the women on the job site may just be a few of a sea of men. And what we've done again, over the last 15 years or so, has created a space. It's called Sisters in the Brotherhood because it's the United Brotherhood of Carpenters, and some of you may have heard of that, where it's just a space and a place where our leadership has held value in trying to make sure that our women feel welcome. So on a regional level, in this 6-state region that we find ourselves in, and I am a New Jersey resident, so I qualify, and have an office here in Edison. But we create this structure called Sisters in the Brotherhood, where in each local union, so there's several across the state and throughout the states, we create an opportunity for there to be a point person, someone to see in the room that another woman can walk into a union meeting during their monthly meetings and see that face, to be the person that they can come to and just check in with, feel comfortable with, sit with. Because I can say, even for myself in union meetings, it gets hard when you feel like you're the only one in the room, right? So we created those spaces where they could have those people to count on, right? And those are leaders within their own locals. And then from there, we meet quarterly. On a regional, Zoom really helped us out to meet quarterly, but even in state level, we'll get together from time to time and have in-person meetings where it's sponsored, the cost is covered by the union, and the women can get together and they have the opportunity to close the door, talk about the real-time issues that are happening on job sites. And, the good thing about collective bargaining and unionization is that you have the opportunity to express your complaints, and a lot of them are held on your behalf, such as women in women's restrooms and things that are, those things that are more difficult to talk about on a job site. But just trying to create the energy around the issues that are repeat issues that women can feel safe and talk to each other about, in order to be able to utilize other people's good measures as a way to get around a certain issue, be it talking about using a sense of humor to get through a situation, or even how to go about talking to somebody if you have something more important to express, who the right people in the room are. So creating that space for folks to be able to talk and talk safely And those are all ways that we've done that. But we've also invited the men in the room that are allies and said, you know, this is a person who you can come to and say that things aren't going exactly right, right? So so Sisters in the Brotherhood has been the way to do that, and just creating that space and energy around that. Now that is sometimes can be seen as that's the girls' club, right? And that's, you know, it can have a counter narrative, unfortunately, with the other population of men who just see it as a rah-rah sisterhood. So we have to create sort of the space of educating them on it's not all lockstep. There's no silver bullet to create this inclusive environment, but this is a way that people could feel safe and do so in the right way. So,
well, that's great. I mean, I think that's very important. Alyssa, how does it work with your organization?
It's the same. I will first start off by saying that vulnerability requires trust first, though. So we can't expect anybody to come in and lay their hearts down in a space that they don't trust. And we have, at Covanta, we have employee resource groups. And those are our safe spaces where you can come and just fall apart if you need to. Because for the women that are in this room, for all of us, we are not up next, we are up now. And we just want to make sure that they know that this is their moment, that you are safe here, that you are supported here, and know for sure that not every situation are they right, but allowing them to be able to just pour it all out and get some clarity and get some feedback in a safe space. And our ERGs are that safe space for them to be able to bounce some things off the wall so that they then can see sometimes they could very well be wronged. And it's hard and it's awful. And what you felt is in fact right. Your mind wasn't playing tricks on you. But then there are some times where, you came in a little bit rough. And you think we could have done some other things? And there's a body of women that will help to support them. And those are senior women in the organization. And because there's everybody there, it's not just because we do have allies for instance, Covanta Black Professionals. I'm a co-chair of Covanta Black Professionals. But one of my other co-chairs is a white male because he's an ally in this. And he wants to make sure that we can grow and we get the greatest opportunities based off of our experience and the hard work that we're putting in. So in those safe spaces, you get to hear several different opinions about what exactly is happening to you. And then in the event that they need advocacy, we go in on their behalf. We stand and locked and, in holding arms with them and saying, this is what happened. And you go and put yourself on a line to make sure that they stay protected and that their justice is served in these situations. Because a lot of times it's not just them, and you can't just downplay it like, oh, she's just so emotional or she's whatever. That's unfair. That's not fair. So we go in and we advocate for them. But first of all, it takes trust. It takes for them to know that this is a trusted space, because safe spaces are something that's just thrown around. But not every safe space is actually safe. And not in every empowerment session is empowerment. Sometimes mean girls are running empowerment sessions. So making sure that the people that are dressed so well before you, that say that they're here for you, you can actually talk to once they leave this room. Because sometimes they're only accessible in the room. So making sure that they are safe and they know for sure that they are safe, and not expecting them on the first time to come into a room and pour out their whole story, because it takes time for them to know that they are actually in a safe space.
But it's great that you include, all the interested parties are in the room.
Absolutely.
So that everybody has buy-in to it and has a stake in it. So Sharon, anything to add to that?
I'll start off by saying that confidence as a woman is hard. I always share this story with everybody I mentor. When I was in high school, a new immigrant in California, my high school teacher, who was also a geometry teacher and a football coach, took a look at me. I got my first test results back from him. I had a good score. He said, smarter than you look. And then my first year as a consultant, my client, well-meaning, an older woman, pulled me aside and said, you're going to have a hard time here because you're young, you're a minority, and you're a woman. Not sure exactly what to do with that information, but I guess thank you. And I think all of us women in this room understand that the impact of those little paper cuts of comments, of beliefs, assumptions, tear away at your confidence. And I shared this story for the men in the room too, because you have to understand the context upon which, when you think this woman is brilliant, why is she not confident? That may be why. But I also think that you have to earn your confidence, and oftentimes you do this by actually helping others. So at Slalom, we have not just internal mentorship programs, but also with local universities and Dress for Success. We had a partnership with them where we took their members and offered our mentorship. So I was able to help a new immigrant coming from Colombia, becoming a tax professional. Incredible uphill journey where I was kind of like, yeah, you should be my mentor. You're so courageous. And I was also able to mentor a African-American senior in college in William Patterson University, a local university, and inspired her to apply for that internship at Spotify. So as a graphics designer, I don't know anything about in that area, but I encouraged her. I was a cheerleader, worked on her resume. So I think by helping others, you earn the confidence of being able to be in the room and to also be helped.
So yeah, we've got a 15-minute marker on times, just to let you guys know. So I just have a couple quick questions that I'll ask. And one of them is, okay, now how do you get people involved and how do you get them to participate? So, you set up this program, you say it's there. I mean, how do you actually get them in the room participating and sustaining, like a sustained participation? So I'm just going to ask Cyndie. And then we'll run out of time, so I'm going to keep it quick.
So,
Okay, great. Thank you. It's a lot better.
So building a place where they feel empowered to lead within that Sisters in the Brotherhood. There's several things that we do. We allow them to take action, whether it's volunteering. We'll ask them to go to a political event and sit and listen to an elected official talk on a certain topic. We will ask them to advocate for us, maybe do a community project. And all of those little ways of helping them to feel included and that they matter are really just ways that are building their confidence gradually, right? And so that's all the way from the apprentice level through journey person. Mm-hmm. And in that time, we're trying to identify where are the ways that we are supporting them through that process and learning how to become a leader, right? So with that, our leadership in Las Vegas, who is the national firm to the Sisters in their Brotherhood, will host a large conference every few years, just women specifically for construction. And they'll bring them all out and they'll hear keynote speakers and they'll sit and listen to all of the great ways to carry back the message and energy to their job sites to then live and breathe another day on a construction site, right? And but with that is also the coaches and classes and all the access that they wouldn't all already have just being there on a day-to-day basis. So putting them in a room that helps them to understand these values and why it's important to put themselves out there and communicate with others and network and be a mentor or a mentee. Those are all ways that are building confidence in these members and also creating and cultivating next step leaders.
So okay, you have a program, it's in full swing. Alyssa, how do you know that you're doing the right thing and that your mentorship program's a success? How do you measure that success?
We actually have a measurement tool at Covanta, but the greatest measurement is seeing them grow and thrive, even if it's not just with our company, because some of them get everything they need, and because of the sponsorship, they go. So watching them just go and thrive like that is so... And you see their confidence build through the whole process. You just see them starting to want to do more in the company. We have lunchtime chat and choose, and we always start with a safety contact. And it could be something really small, somebody that really just keeps their head down often, doesn't want to say much of anything. And you can get them on a company-wide chat and chew, on midday. They'll give up their lunch and they'll do a safety contact. And that's so major. It might seem very minute to somebody, but for them to get on the screen with all 43 of our employees tuned in, and they want to just speak in front of people, watching them just grow and thrive, you get to see them just come out of their shells, to be perfectly honest. But we do have an actual tool. But before you even get to that tool that measures how effective you were, why somebody got out of the program, why they stopped attending, things like that, who went on, who's moving up in the ranks, who's now with a company that resembles a Covanta but doing well because an opportunity was presented over there. You can look at those things, but we do have markers even, and I think the greatest of them all are the exit tool. When you're exiting, why are you exiting? What could we have done better?
Right.
What was the greatest takeaway for you? I think those are the greatest of them all. And I do want to say something about the question you asked, Cyndie, and finding people who want to be mentored. As I move around the country, I will leave a business card with every female I see, all of them. So I'm like, hey girl, how are you? You know, so you just kind of pull people along. And we also have in our ERGs, we have monthly meetings set aside just for a specific ERG. We have one, our Fluid for the LGBTQIA community. We have one called Rise for the women. We have one, Covanta Black Professionals. So that's just 3 Latinx. We have one, but we have about 7 total. Those are just a few of the ones that we have. But in each of our meetings, we are to talk about the mentorship program. We want to let them know that there is a way for them to move higher, just to hone in on some skills, just get some supports if they need it in those safe spaces that we talked about earlier. We do let them know that, but that's also, we have a Covanta Connect. There's just on our intranet where you can click on and find all of the extra things where you can just sign up and you'll be paired with someone. So we have quite a few different tools to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing, and the exit tool and the measurement tools as they leave the program.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Sharon, anything on that? How do you measure success?
I'll give you a quick answer. I'm a firm believer, and maybe it's because it's the consultant in me, but what gets measured gets managed. And one example of a kind of a bottoms-up approach is that in order to cultivate a mentorship culture, it's more than just having a mentorship program. And what we do every month is that we have a leaderboard of consultants who give official feedback to one another. So we capture this on Workday, but the system doesn't matter as much as the fact that our GM will put the names on the screen for the entire office to see and say, you've given 85 pieces of feedback here today. And for those of you who haven't given the feedback, it shows up and it's not called out. But I think if you think about feedback as the first step to forming that trust, forming that relationship, identifying opportunities for mentorship, I think that's a powerful measure.
Great. And Cyndie, your measurements.
Yeah, so the measurements are really obviously retention numbers. We're able to access those. But I also just want to step back and just say that we also provide, when we were talking about the training piece, we provide the foreman and superintendent trainings and make sure that the room looks diverse when those numbers are counted, right? So those are ways that people are just naturally coming up through the ranks, through those leadership.
I would like to have a mentorship board immediately. Thank you. I want names rolling up, right?
Okay, so we're to the last question, if you can believe it. But I want to kind of set the stage for this. This morning we heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about the women in New Jersey government that are in Governor Murphy's cabinet, and how it's the most women in a cabinet in New Jersey ever in the history. And you look at those women, they're all incredibly accomplished women, including the Lieutenant Governor herself. But, I was sitting there listening to her thinking, I have to bet that every single one of those women that is on the cabinet there had a mentor or had a story about how they got where they were and who helped them get there. And the Lieutenant Governor even alluded to this. She considers the former Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver, was her mentor. So, and helped her come along and kind of was her sponsor. So I'm going to ask each of you, we'll start with Sharon, that you look back on your career. What significant experience helped you become a success? And was there someone there who helped you get there? And I know Alyssa talked a little bit about it's the dog eat dog world. Everybody's trying to climb the ladder. But I think that there are people along the way that help you and that, support you. So if you could tell your story.
I have so many names that are swirling in my head, and I thought about this question beforehand. I mentioned Tracy Edwards, who was at Deloitte, but I'll mention another person who's actually not a woman. And I think that's also important. Women need to help women, but men do too. And we all need to help one another, especially when we see that potential in the person. So by the gentleman named Kwesi Mitchell, he was my first people leader, or a counselor, as Deloitte calls it, when I was a newly minted consultant at Deloitte. And he made sure that he saw me as a whole person. I had a family situation that really required me to relocate from Washington, D.C. to New Jersey 11 years ago. And he advocated for me with people from all kinds of locations to make sure that I landed in a good position. And if it hadn't been for his efforts and his sponsorship and him really credentializing me to all of these people, I probably would have left Deloitte. And I probably may have even left consulting altogether. So I think it's that line between the mentor and the sponsor that I was able to walk with him, and he was able to trust in my ability to succeed, even with the challenges that I was experiencing with my family at the time. And he made a difference. It was a sliding door moment of what would my career look like if it hadn't been for him. He didn't have to advocate for me in a location outside of his office. So I think when you don't have to do it, but you still step into that role and advocate for a person, that's a true mark of a great mentor and a sponsor. And I'm so grateful to him for having done that for me.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Alyssa?
Yes, I will say for me, it's Martha Chavis. I spoke about her earlier, the one that made me put together that business budget that I'm still trying to fund. She is the greatest because she gets you ready. She tells you all of the hard things. She makes you think deeper than you've ever thought. She bends you and stretches you to places that you've never thought that you would go. Just having a woman that looks like me, have faith in me like that, and prepare me for all of the things. It's just an amazing thing. She's about 80 years old now, about 78, 80 years old. She's seen it all. She's been in business for a long time. She can guide me through some things. She's been amazing. But then there's a sponsor in my life that is absolutely amazing, and she's my executive VP, Tequila Smith of Covanta. And Tequila is the one that will say, here, I'm opening the door for you, and I'm going to put you at this table. I'm actually going to hand you this opportunity, and I'm going to step back because I know you're ready for this, and I know that you can do this, and now is your time. And then I have my intern that I brought on with me just this summer. She comes from University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. She's just a May 23 graduate from Maryland, Eastern Shore. And I will say Ayotamiwa Fashola, who is not old enough and hasn't seen enough to be a mentor, but she's a great coach because she gets me together. She tells me, you're a little antiquated in some of the things you're doing. So let me get your business card. Don't you pull out another business card. We're going to have you a QR code on your phone so you can move around. You don't have to dig in your pocket. And I can remember the very first time I met her last November, we went to an HBCU marketplace because we have an initiative at Covanta to make sure that we are hiring local and we are giving opportunities to students coming out of historically Black colleges and universities. So we went to a marketplace, and I can remember it was our first time doing it, and we're so excited. And I didn't come from an HBCU. I came out of Seton Hall. So, and our HR person was there, and we're both looking at each other like, you know what to do? I don't know what to do. What are we supposed to do? Like, you're HR, you're supposed to know what to do. So I tried to grab them I'm a Delta Sigma Theta. I'm a member of Black Greek letter organization. And I put on a baseball cap. I was like, maybe I could grab them with my baseball cap because they're all from HBCUs. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get them over here. So everybody starts to flock over to me. And next thing I know, it's a circle of Greek fraternities and sorority members surrounding me. And we're all just chit-chatting, and they're interviewing me. Like, why would I want to work for Covanta? I mean, everybody wants me. Why do I want you? Mm-hmm. So one of them said, and I believe it was Ayotamiwa, she said, let me see your LinkedIn. Because now they're interviewing me. Like, hey, I'm here to do this. What are you doing? She said, let me see your LinkedIn. And I was like, I didn't update that in a while. And she said, I'm going to get you together if it's the last thing I do. So the next thing I know, I'm being coached and mentored by somebody that hasn't even gotten out of college at that point. So she's now my intern, and I'm never, ever, ever letting her go. But being able ever, she gets me right. She'll call me and be like, "Are you up and moving right now?" I am, barely, but thank you. I'll tell me why. But just being able to see that they have something that I need and not being threatened by her age, by her energy, or just her lack of experience where I come from, but knowing that she has a lot of something where she stands. So just making sure that we see the beauty in all of the people that surround us and not diminishing them because of their age or their lack of experience, and bringing them along into spaces. I highly recommend that you do that, because from the 78-year-old to my executive VP that stands by my side at my company, who makes sure that I get all of the opportunities she knows that I'm ready for, to Io Tamiwa, who makes sure that I'm ready for all of those opportunities, because she know I'll put on some wild clothes in a minute. She'll tell me, tone it down. Not today, Alyssa, not today. So just making sure that we give all of these different people opportunities, because they are vital and valuable to us.
Awesome. Cyndie?
So keep it short and sweet, because I know questions are coming up, but I dial it down to a moment in my apprenticeship where I was very new to the industry. I'm an adventure seeker, so I had no business being in the construction industry. I had nobody in the family. You know, I went to Catholic school. I didn't even go to a Voc school. I was supposed to go to college, and, you know, the whole thing blew up. But anyway, on a construction site with no idea what the hell I was doing there. And the gentleman I was working with was a journeyman, and I could barely read a tape measure, and I just, what am I doing here? And so lacking confidence, insecurity, all of it, right? And he worked with me for weeks. And at one point, as I'm trying to read the tape measure properly, he looked at me and goes, "Kid, you are going to be a leader someday." And I, at that moment, couldn't have felt more insecure. And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, but I wanted to believe him. And he was the person that became, right after that job site, the business agent for my local. And he was my mentor, you know, and he carried me, and he told me that I'm going to do some good someday, right? And so many years later, 25 years later, and many career moves later within the Carpenters, I now got dropped the keys to a labor management trust. And, you know, it blows my mind. But the truth is, I have a team, and I have Patty Granton here, that is part of my team, that we're just doers, and we do the wonderful work that I always wanted to do, and that's advocacy for people, and that's advocacy for women, for people of color, for people who love LGBT community, you know, and it's just the most wonderful thing. But I will add the point that in the end, even now, it is those folks in the room that speak up, that know they don't have to, that matter, right? And those are the people that I rely on a daily basis. Those are the people that drop me the keys and say, "I trust you to do this." And 25 years ago, I didn't have that, right? And I barely owned my position cutting a piece of wood, right? So it's just awesome stuff, you know, and through it all, just being an advocate for being somebody who's coachable is everything.
That's awesome. And thanks to all of these women. And I'd say for everyone out there in the room, and you're doing this, you're living this, is, you know, people helped you get where you are. You need to pay that forward, and you need to help other people get to where they need to be. And, you know, so that's what mentorship and sponsorship culture are all about, is paying it forward, taking what your successes were and helping somebody else have those same successes. So that concludes the Q&A. We're going to go, the panel Q&A. We're going to go to the audience Q&A. So does anyone have a question for our panelists? Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. I have a question regarding
Okay.
Thank you. In my company, I've been working with our VP of Org Dev on developing a limited mentorship program. And the problem is not finding mentors. Everybody wants to be mentored. We're not so sure about people being willing to be mentors. So how do you incentivize, find the right people, or tell them this is not going to take away from your work you're doing every day, but this is something that we think you're able to do?
Just to clarify, the question was, there are plenty of people who want to be mentored? Okay, yeah. I think there's two ways to do this. One is impressing upon everybody that mentoring will actually have dividends for you as well as the mentee, that you are going to learn something from that person. And by needing to crystallize your frameworks, your ways of thinking, your wisdom into something that can be transmitted to another human, you are actually getting better as a leader. So I think there is something to be said about being a mentor makes you a better person, a better leader. And then another way is impressing upon the importance of not just about mentoring somebody who is less experienced than you, but topical. So pick something that they're most confident about, that they can't wait to get up and do or talk about, and then you can actually focus that energy into being a mentor. So if you are a graphics designer, you can be a mentor in that. If you are a immigrant and you want to share that experience to others, that's what you can do. So there are different flavors of mentoring programs all over the world, and all over the nation rather, and they can find something that really energizes them.
Great. Right. Hi, I have a question. So thank you all for being on the panel, and for Sora, Alyssa,
Hey.
as well. Sora here as well. So, quick question, and it really connects a little bit to your question around being a mentor. So, if you are a mentor, you are doing all the things. I love that. It's ... How do each of you recharge when it feels like you're often pouring from an empty cup? Right. You help no one if you are rising and climbing and trying to do your best, but there you see a need and you see that connection and you want to be as supportive as possible. So that's my question around, really, for each of you, as time allows, how do you do that? Because it could be a lot.
You're trying to make us cry. You're asking a room full of women about self-care. You know we don't know anything about that. We just give it till it hurts, and then you wake up, you fall asleep and wake up and start giving again. For me, hiking. I am a little girl from Camden, New Jersey. It couldn't get any more urban if it tried, but I found so much love in the outdoors. I could sit by any body of water. It could be raining and I could stare at a puddle. I could be at the Cooper River. I could be at the Rollway River Walk. Water just makes me feel so calm and so at peace. It's outside that I just get recharged because you'll find yourself just running and doing for everybody, and you have to check off all these boxes every day, and you'll find yourself, you just fall asleep. You looked up and you haven't met with your girlfriends. You have a standing appointment with your girlfriends at 6 p.m. on every Friday, and you haven't seen them for 2 months. Because you're making sure that everybody is taken care of at the cost of yourself. And then you go find a body of water and you sit next to it and you find yourself journaling. And then you go on a hike and you do all of those things. So I say, for all of us, as we continue to climb, and again, I will say our time is not next, we are now. So take full opportunity of this movement and this moment, but make sure you steal away. Stop putting off your hair appointment. Don't do it yourself. YouTube University doesn't teach us everything. It's always missing some steps because my hair does not look like hers. Stop trying to do it all yourself and make sure that you steal away. Don't forget to date your husbands. Don't forget to court your mates. Don't forget to take care of yourself. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, but please just try to get back to that as often as you can, because your body will shut you down when you stop paying attention to it. So yes, for me, it is the body of water. It is a hike that just gets me centered. And I could probably go off of that for far too long. That one sit by the water, that one hike could probably take me for another month, which is so sad to say. I'm going to do better. That's what you wanted me to say in the midst of all of this, to do better by taking care of myself. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Char Olivier. I work with a company called Kylie. I'm the Director of Sustainability. Thank you all very much, the three of you, for your time today. I appreciate everything that you said. So I do work for a smaller private company, smaller. It sounds like you all come from larger organizations. And while we have a formal internship program that has started the last few years, we don't have more formal mentorship or sponsorship programs. So I appreciate very much, Alyssa, what you said about embracing Gen Z and understanding that as Gen X, we may not have had those mentors. And I can certainly say that while there are a few male mentors in my history,
not a ton of women mentors ultimately, and something that I really find is missing. Peers, but not so much the generation before. But can you all briefly give maybe some suggestions or tips on how to start something like this, or what the beginnings of this look like at an organization?
Sure, I'll just take this one. I think we're in a similar industry, and I happen to know you personally, so I know we're kind of in the same thread here. What I'll say is, I start off by saying, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have a social life because I just don't have the time to connect in the way that I would like to keep those types of friendships. So I'm very thankful. But with that, I have a really strong network of people within my organization, right? And they're my friends, because so much of what I do is I'm passionate about, right? So I just want to make sure that I'm taking the time to connect to the people within my construction industry that really help to fill my cup. And there's a sea of men out there that I enjoy just talking to, laughing with, and talking work with, that help me to fill my cup. And I still also belong to Yoga 6, which I need to get there. That's part of my, it's part of the is making that time. And I don't do my nails, but I'm trying to get to high yoga. But trying to find those moments where I can connect with people that will help me feel refreshed and maybe go through what I'm going through at the same time, right? So that's it. Thanks.
That's really good.
I'll share one quick way of starting something, even if your, a company doesn't have a formal mentorship program. We used to call it Lunch Ninja, and I don't even know which company this was from, but it's relatively low cost, $20, and then you randomly match up somebody and say, have coffee on us. And they go meet, they go to Starbucks, and they just talk, spark up a connection. So it's a very low-key way of doing something, but you can do that without much formal approvals or even critical mass. So something to try.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's how we started ours. It's really, okay, who wants to be a mentor? Who wants to be mentored? And then kind of put them together and go have lunch. Just go have lunch, talk to each other. It doesn't have to be, structured at the beginning. You can just start with a lunch and chatting, and we talk about all kinds of things, but it's a voice, it's a person there to bounce things off of, and we start with that. And then as you start to grow the program, then you can add things to it and put a little more structure on it. I mean, their programs are very sophisticated programs. They have a lot of structure, and they're good. They're big big programs, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can just be lunch every once in a while, and perhaps a get together and a sharing of information on what the challenges are, and the events and the things that they should be going to that are going to grow their their knowledge.
Hi, ladies.
Oh, sorry.
All the way in the back. Thank you so much. You have dropped so many jewels. I appreciate that. My name is Sophia Rhodes-Gist, and my question to the panelists would be, can you share one thing that your sponsor or your mentor may have shared with you that you still live by today, or you passed along to someone else?
It's a good one. Who wants to take that one?
I'll take it. So my very first day on the job site, my shop steward greets me at this construction site, and he takes me in the shanty, and he gives me the whole runaround about what I'm going to come and encounter. And he had mentioned, just a reference to everyone, the day you stop learning is the day you need to retire. And that goes for all of us. And so that is what I was greeted with, thankfully, because I had that little morsel to take with me, and it's the very first thing I ever heard. So, that's it.
So we're out of time. I got the 0 time notice, but I want to thank everybody for being here today. We hope you're energized to go start your own programs, and you'll be here for a few more minutes if anybody wants to talk to them directly. Round of applause for the panelists.